Welcome. This is John McConnin. I'm an attorney and a broker, and today we're going to do a live stream to Facebook and YouTube. That's why I was looking over there. I guess I should be looking up here at the camera. And I'm going to try to do one thing so you can see. I'm trying to add a layer, basically. I'm learning this software. I would have been broadcasting a lot more frequently, but I've been finding software that I think I will find useful and efficient and help me present things better. So now I think I got to click on this. I need to go to my desktop, primary one, and you should be able to see. Okay, so this is what I will be looking at soon. I have a presentation that I made in, let me see, this is a Microsoft product. So this is what is this? Well, I don't even remember the name of it. I'm sure I will in a second. But I made it a few days ago. Normally, I make it right before I speak, so I can just know what's going on. But today, I'm going to go over and start reading from it, and we'll cut back and forth. So this is how to market your home via multiple offers. In other words, it was going to be a long sentence, but I want to say today, in 2019, now more than ever, you might really want to consider setting your house up beforehand, setting the whole marketing effort up, setting all your planning to go with to an attempt to gain multiple offers. And say the last year, at one point I did a video, 2/3 of the homes in California were receiving multiple offers. And in 2019, we've seen how market prices have gone down. I've personally seen when out looking for buyers have more time to buy the houses they're interested in. They're on the market longer. And we don't really know where the rest of 2019 is going. But I have a feeling homeowners will be working a little, and their realtors, if they're using realtors, are going to be working a little bit harder to sell homes. And therefore, let me just explain this very simply. Selling your home can be all about price, but maybe more importantly, it can be all about getting a lot of showings and having showings with qualified buyers. So if you think about the normal process, there may be an open house, there may not, and then there'll be showings one at a time. Perhaps, well, in most cases, it's a better process to try to get all those showings in at one time, in one weekend, so that you have a chance to have multiple offers, so that you can, if done expertly, play those offers, or at least the weaker offers against each other, see if you can bring them up, and in the end, you should have a better price and better terms for the sale of your home. And if you think about what I'm just saying, what I'm really saying is, why would you want to space out offers over 20 days if you were going to accept them in a 1 or 2 day period, rather if you could put them all together in one weekend? And I make that caveat because you never know. If you understand the pricing pyramid, there's a few people that will overpay for a home because their babysitting lives there, or their family lives there, or they want to be next to their friend, or it's across the street from the golf course where they're playing every day. Those people may be motivated to overpay or pay more than fair market value. And then there'll be a lot of people who want to pay fair market value. So if you can get a lot of those people in on this weekend, you don't really know whether those 1 or 2 or 3 people might be there that will overpay that weekend or next weekend. But it really doesn't matter if normally you accept your offer and sign it within a few days of receiving it. So why not, probabilities-wise, get those 20 or 30 people in there early, and with those people, well, let me just say this. Myself and other realtors that have a lot of experience selling homes will tell their sellers, if we have 10 showings and we don't have an offer, there's either something wrong with the home, your home is probably 5 to 10% over the market, or, I mean, there's always exceptions, but that's the reality. In Southern California, in the last 4 or 5 years, if you've had 10 showings, you're going to get an offer unless there's something very strange. Either you're way overpriced or your house has issues. So if you can get 20 people in a weekend, you know you're very likely to get very good offers, and they're very likely to be telling you where the market is right now. So that's the background. And now we're going to describe a little bit more what kind of methods we can use to stimulate multiple offers. And then if we have time today, we'll talk about how you actually conduct the back and forth, the negotiations with multiple people. But we're probably not, I know we're not going to get to all of that today because I've already saved for other videos actually using the forms and how we structure that. But this is probably the most important part of it, the concept. So in the end, if you've thought about all this, you'll be the one deciding the process and the timing. In fact, you might have to explain this to many realtors you're working with because many realtors like to do their marketing the way they're used to doing it. They like to conduct the sales of the home the way they're used to doing it. And they might get those multiple offers the first day. And then they like to get it done and say, hey, I sold the home for multiple offers for 3% over ask or whatever it is. That's what they're used to doing. So when you understand what's going on, you may dictate to them more how you want to do it. Okay, so there's many ways to stimulate multiple offers. There is just putting the home on the MLS, in a strong market, putting the home on the MLS, putting it out a little bit on social media, and putting it at a price that gets showings may get people to pay through the price and create a higher price and might even get multiple offers going. We've seen that. Just as I said, 66% of the homes last year, or as of November last year, we're getting multiple offers. There's a pre-MLS strategy. There's low price will stimulate, like for instance, in the short sale process, when it was really hard to sell homes at first, if you put the price low enough, you get a lot of showings and you would get multiple offers. People are like, hey, I like this home. I'm qualified. Price is low. And then, we're like, well, call them back and the bank might want more or whatever. But the prices came up with multiple offers, even just beginning. Sometimes we got it right up into a range that the bank wanted, but then the problem was keeping those people around for 3 to 6 months. If they're qualified cash buyers, a lot of them just want to get their house and get it over with. So in the end, we started selling to people that had to use loans that it wasn't that easy for them to walk away. They really needed that house. So there's also, and more importantly than the low price model, I think for most people these days, is the traffic model. Like I was saying, if you can get 10, 20, 30 people in your home over a weekend or the first week, you're going to get offers in all likelihood, and very likely those offers will be at market. And then if you got multiple offers and you negotiate it properly, we'll get into that further, you might get above market prices. And last year you might have gotten way above market prices if you did it the right way, which was rarely done the right way. And then similar to having like a big open house weekend, there is the auction weekend that, I know I've sold a home myself and I wouldn't have had the guts to just put a price out there and say, we're selling this weekend no matter what. So you would have an auction with a reserve bid or a non-mandatory auction. You just want to make sure in your marketing materials you didn't confuse people and say, hey, we're definitely going to accept any price this weekend. But the nice thing with I don't even know if I went into this. Well, we'll go into it more this way if I get to it. I will come back to it. Okay, so with a lower price or a hot market, realtors and owners typically generate multiple offers. Hot market, well, in a way, even in a hot market, the price that was going out on the net was it was fair market value. And fair market value was being determined by previous comps, and it was being slowed down by banks and appraisals. So really the price maybe should have been up here where it got to, say, summer of 2018 rather than prices in 2015 or 16. But the way, basically, if 80 or 90% of the market's needing loans and the banks aren't going to lend to big jumps, the market had to creep up slowly. So what people were calling fair market value may have actually been a low price, which is why 2/3 of the homes in California are getting multiple offers for the last few years. And at that point, it became incumbent upon realtors or owners, if they're working on their own, to set up a process that would allow the owners to realize a higher than fair market value price, and keep that buyer in the game. We're going to get to that later because I believe most of the time that was not done in the optimal manner. That's what I was getting to when I write that. If you just put the home in the market, 4 or 5 offers came in. I know because I was getting calls from people saying, I want to fire my realtor because we had 4 offers and we lost them all. I would get 3 offers, 4 offers. And what would happen is people would go highest and best. They'd try to go back and forth 3 times and everyone backed away in the end. And so that's clearly the way many realtors do it. Well, many realtors and their brokers used to say, and I'm not sure so much because I haven't been around big brokerages as much, but they used to say negotiate with one offer at a time and lock them down. When people, and that's just partly because when realtors get into the highest and best or back and forth with people, and I had that problem once or twice. I'd say highest and best, and my seller told me to do that, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, maybe other people come back with more, and that's another way to lose all your offers. So let's not blame the realtors all the time, but I got a lot of calls, people blaming their realtors. So the point is we have to set that process up well. We will deal with that. And so because of that process, and because it was sort of ad hoc marketing, and then put the house on the, first offers that came in were getting the house, and this may not necessarily have been the strongest buyers, because the strongest buyers are frequently relocation buyers. You want to give them a little bit of time to become aware of the property, talk to their realtor, get into town and take a look at your house. But they're motivated, and you don't want to just lose them. Basically, the people who are getting the homes are the ones who've been local in the process for a while, tired of losing, and were doing things necessary to win quickly. It wasn't necessarily at the highest price. Now, another strategy that can produce multiple offers is a pre-MLS strategy. And here, I really like this strategy because you can get 2 bites at the apple, and maybe, if you do it well, keep the goodwill of the buyers. So you'll just do a really good marketing. We're not going to have time. I can already see how long this is taking. We'll talk about really good marketing before it gets on the MLS. We'll talk about some of the things that you should do, but it should involve social media. It should involve local marketing with signs, massive amount of signs at a minimum. I think the sign should go out, even if you lose a few days early, and maybe even maybe even letting your neighbors know by dropping off flyers, or there's a lot of ways to do local marketing. And the idea would be to have a really big open house weekend. You call it a pre-MLS. You create a little scarcity, saying, "Hey, look, if someone doesn't buy it this weekend, it's going to go on the MLS, and most likely because we're going to have to pay maybe higher real estate fees. I mean, you sure as tell the truth because it'll come out and then people won't believe you. Well, it may come out and people won't believe you anymore. So if the point is at that point in time, if you're only paying a listing realtor, then you can say, well, when we put it on the MLS, we're going to be offering 3 or 4% more to buyers. So, why not get the opportunity now where you can get a little lower and I can get a little higher net. However you want to. I mean, this is part of representation. Either you're representing the property or your realtor, and how your realtor talks to buyers, how your realtor talks to realtors. This is all important. But the idea is to convey confidence to the buyer. And we're going to cover in another video, but the point is you may be able to convey confidence by having the home pre-inspected and repaired and providing that information. You may want to get it pre-appraised if you know you're going under the market. I would definitely prepare my disclosures ahead of time and have them there for people to read so that they don't come back later and say, we didn't know these things. But there's a lot of ways to assuage might be the wrong word, to help eliminate or counter buyers' fears so they make offers and make strong ones. But one of the great things is if a lot of people see there's a lot of interest in the home on a weekend, that can really drive up prices. It's sort of the principles of scarcity being used 2 ways there. 1, we're going to go on the MLS, probably for a higher price. 2, people realize when it goes on the MLS, there might even be more exposure. And then 3, they could be seeing each other in that big weekend. So that's one strategy. You can do the same thing on the MLS. This works really well. Is probably what I've done most often. And that's have the big weekend on the MLS. So in other words, we might list it on a Thursday and say open house next Saturday and Sunday. And that this is going to be in the strategy session. But the big thing here is not to tick off the buyers. We don't want offers to come in ahead of time. Or we don't want those people with offers to coming in ahead of time to think they're going to be considered right away. So I used to let it be known that we've already promised people who were coming in from out of town that they'd have a chance to see the property in open house. And that open house is going to be next weekend. So we're not going to consider offers before then. Now, most buyers are going to put their offer in if they've seen the house and they're interested. And sometimes if the price was high enough, my seller said, well, forget about it. We're going to probably take this one. And I'd say, well, let's call those other people or whoever we promised something to. Let's call them up and tell them the circumstances So at least they might get involved too. It's, you know, and I'm even going to, let me just tell you, I didn't even make up this strategy. Back when I was selling my home, this is a long story. I sold my home, I'm an attorney, and I had been doing a lot of real estate contracts and negotiations. I was doing some commercial, I was doing some residential, and I knew this stuff. I knew the contracts well. And I was like, and I was selling my house in Carlsbad, California at the time. This was, I don't know, 2003 or 4. And we did the big open house weekend. We had 4 or 5 people telling us they were going to make offers. 2 or 3 people had me actually give them blank contracts so they can make offers. They were calling me, but they were never making those offers. Now, I eventually said, all right, I'm going to hire a realtor. The realtor, I said, and I told him, hey, I had these offers. These were people telling me they're going to pay. He goes, no problem. It was a couple. We'll just mark it up for the realtor fees, both sides, is 6%, and we'll get you that price. And they did this. They said, this is going to piss off some people, but overall, this is better for you. We're not going to take a look at offers for a week and a half. Well, it might have been 4 or 5 days, but whatever it was not till the weekend. And I had 5 offers sitting on. They made a great presentation of it. We had the offers sitting there. He or she compared and contrasted with them for me. Which one do you want to pick? Which ones do you want to counter? You know, and we did the whole multiple offer thing. And it turned out that one of the people who now knew there was a realtor, actually she had her own realtor, paid $45,000 more, $44,000 more for the property than she could have had it a week and a half earlier. So I learned a lot of things about, you know, I think one of the big things when doing this, if you're doing it without a realtor, is eliminating those buyers' fears and concerns, and maybe even having a lawyer or a realtor on tap to help them if that's what they want. Like I would, you know, we'll go with this in more detail in other videos. But on the open house sheet, I'd say, are you interested? I would have this little checklist everyone could see. Are you interested in making an offer? If so, what would the number be? Do you have a realtor? Do you have a lender? Are you pre-approved? And you make it simple, but you get you don't scare anyone away. You encourage offers. If they say, hey, you know, do you cooperate with realtors? You can say, sure, but you factor that into your price when you're deciding. I mean, you know, now realtors some of them will pin you down. Well, if they're going to go if they're not going to have a realtor and my client's going to make an offer with a realtor, my client's going to be penalized 3 or 6%. I think the only thing is, hey, what do you want me to do? There's an open house weekend. It's not on the MLS yet. This is pre-MLS. On MLS, you'll be fully protected. Now we're protecting you. What else how could you ask for anything more? And they may not make an offer because they I don't know. I vaguely remember some guys not making offers at that point. So that may happen. It may not. As I was saying, you can run into a very good, serious buyer who wants you to accept their offer before that weekend. And if the number's right, I think last year if the number's right, you could be concerned, hey, it's still going to go up. Right now, if the number's really good, you have to seriously consider it. So now, this is really very similar to the big auction weekend. Let me come back here now. I'll just talk about this one. Nope. Okay. Let me just come here. This is similar to the big auction weekend, except I'm going right to this because I know so many times I've dealt with this with owners. We will find a way in our marketing material to use non-binding auction or one of the technical auction terms that would be equal to non-binding or minimum bid, and we'll make it clear. But doing that, it's really nice because when people, and if you can make a presentation of it, a show of it, even better. People come in, you might have 2 people there, you might have someone explaining it. Here's the paperwork, here's the details, here are disclosures, here is an inspection report, and you say, you know, feel free to walk around the house, the property, and then on the way back, you ask them if they're interested in making an offer. You say, here's details on how the auction will work. We will be getting back to people. You might not say auction, but we'll be getting back to people on Monday night. If you make an offer, we'll let you know if if we're going to go to contract on this. So if you have enough offers, you can then have a Sunday night, or it could be Monday night, whenever you want to do it. You can call the people up, and what I like to do, and this is even true with my multiple offer negotiation, if we have a really good solid offer with a buyer who seems to be well positioned with cash so that they could go up if necessary, I like to have the other people compete, keep that one offer on the sideline, tell the other people they have to respond in a day or 24 hours, whatever it is, and find out who's a really, really good, find out if a really good buyer rises to the top, who's qualified to pay that new price that they're thinking of paying, and then go back to my best people. Or whatever the timing is. But the point is, don't get them all ticked off at once. Keep one, treat them as your primary buyer. Don't play that one off. Play the other ones, or however you want to do it. You might have two you don't want to play with, and in 3 or 4, you might suspect this person's the winner because they're doing cash, but they started off low. But it's not just highest and best right away. It's not just multiple canners to everybody, because that's has a tendency to scare away your best buyers, or can. I've just seen it very often from calls that when you do the highest and best early, you have ticked off clients, and when you send out multiple counters to everybody, there's a chance they all back away. And so finally, let me just say, the most important thing is communication from your representative to those realtors or those buyers, that the process is going to be fair and they're going to be treated fairly. And so as long as they get that, you should be able to keep them in. But if there's a lack of communication, if there's double talk, if there's mumbling, if you're not conveying confidence that you know what you're doing in this process and the process is going to be organized and fair, you might lose people. Okay, I'm going to cover this quick. We're going to talk about how to do some of this stuff in future videos. I just like to say there's a difference. First of all, you want to do an online CMA and go through all Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia, and mine, ExpertHomePrices.com. You have to sign in there. It's your email. If we had more time, I'd show it to you, but it does. It's from CoreLogic. It's provided to us by our Realtor Association. It uses real estate data, MLS data, and tax data, and it's much better than some. It has better data than some of the other ones. Plus, CoreLogic is a leader in the industry. And if you're like in a subdivision, you're going to know what the subdivision prices are. It's going to tell you, and it's going to be really good. Now, your home might have a better backyard, better views, and all that. And that's what an appraiser would do, or a realtor would do, and say, well, your house is better because. But if you want to know like that good estimate of what the price per square foot would be on your home, it's excellent. Now, all of them are limited by the data. If things haven't been selling recently, if all the homes are different because they're older, then and the lots are all different, well then, those prices aren't going to be as good. But that's where you have to start anyway, because that's where buyers are starting. Then, on top of that, you want to look at the whole market. I like to use RPR. It gives us everything that we want within 4 or 5 miles, or however we want to set it. And you want to see, because sometimes we found that 3,000 square foot homes, 2,800 to 3,200, might not have sold recently, so they're still stuck in a lower price per square foot, where bigger homes and smaller homes both were above. So, you want to be aware of everything, and then you want to figure out where your house fits in based on the homes on the market right now. Because usually, if the other house is superior and it's better price, it's going to be purchased before yours, unless there's some other reasons. And I was saying this really was probably supposed to be in my auction model, but the auction model can price, you might want to start with a price that looks a little low. The old days people talked about going 30% of it, or 40 or 50%. I don't think anyone believes that. I think a 5% deal or a 10% deal gets you, I know, actually, I should say that. I know 5% below in a easily priced house, 10% below will get you tons of traffic. Based on the last 5 years. 40 or 50% people know what's up. And also in a way, it may screen out. You don't want to waste their time. You don't want them wasting your time. So it just needs to look like a great deal, because people are aware of the pricing now. So there's some books like, I think it's 5-day sale or 7-day sale, where they go for really low prices. But that was back when they were putting prices in the newspaper. So anyway, that's my feeling that you wouldn't want to do that. I think people don't buy into it. So again, having confidence in the method that you're using is going to reflect well during this big open house in the auction process. Giving buyers confidence helps them get over buyer's remorse, and they can have buyer's remorse even before they make the offer. They just get scared. I told you the story already about selling the house myself. I can go into more detail some other time, and I have, actually, if you go on YouTube. Now, we're not going to go into this today in this detail, but I've created a website. You can do this a lot of places, but you can have a pre-inspected and pre-repaired homes. I call it a winnerscheck.org certified pre-owned home, kind of like a Lexus. And when people call up, well, there's times that it's very useful. But the point is, if it's certified pre-owned and pre-inspected, if it's certified pre-done or pre-certified, however you want to do it, and you can show all these things, it has been shown, people have done studies, it does bring higher prices. If you include staging, again, higher prices again. The disclosures, people are very afraid they're going to be buying into lawsuits or issues or repairs. So disclosing all that, let's say you did have a flood or a roof leak and it was repaired. You can show people where it was. I mean, you can do things that look great. And I'm going to just tell you all of this. Let's just put this together. People don't mind issues if they're aware of it. They factor into their price. What blows up deals and what people come back with much larger requests is when they find out later and then they lose all confidence in the process. So instead of saying, I'm going to make a $5,000 offer, $5,000 lower offer because I'm going to have to spend $2,000 on this. When they find out later it wasn't disclosed and they didn't hear about it, they're like, I need $20,000 for that repair. So you want to pre-disclose, in my opinion. And the goal, and the home warranty is massive, and you should play that up if you're providing it. And your goal is to eliminate buyers' fears and objections. And as I said earlier, it might even help if you're working with a buyer and you haven't been using realtors to offer to pay for the realtor's attorney or provide them a realtor or let an attorney represent them. Now, we're going to go into this more in the next video too, when we talk about the negotiating. But we can set up. One of the things you want to know ahead of time so you can feel confident is have your professionals set up ahead of time. Well, we already discussed this. Okay, so, oh yeah, and then there's one more thing. But we'll go into this in more detail again in the next videos. Create signs and open house day paperwork. Have that all ready. And this might be an example of some of the wording you might use in your, like if you're going to post it on Facebook and then promote it to everybody in your town, or make a little video. Even your video views could be really cheap. We could talk about that. You can explain that this is how it's going to work. Well, I wouldn't say sold to the high bidder. That might be too aggressive for some people. Bid sold to, we plan to bid sold to the high bidder, but there's a reserve bid above the reserve bid. And you might even, well, yeah, well, that's what we talk about. That's why I'm having trouble. We talk about what you're willing to do, what the prices are, how confident you are in what the market is. Those are all the things we talk about. So then we create the wording to not create liability. That also helps you market the home. So that's John McConnin. For more, well, actually, I was just working on this. I have 3 Winners Check websites. Winnerscheck.net is where you could go. I just set it up today. I have the URL so that you can just sign in and go to my calendar if you want to talk more about this. If you want to work with, if you want to do it on your own, I have a program for that. If you want to do it where I assist you prior to the MLS, I have a great program for that because, whatever we work out as my fee, if we don't sell it that weekend, we will be able to refer your property to any realtor, almost any realtor. Well, the fee is going to be pretty low, we'll be happy to pay a referral fee that will cover the fee that you paid me. And I don't know when you're going to be seeing this, but say for the next 2 months, if we work together, and let's say you're not happy with the reserve bid, I'll not only, when we refer it out, recover the fee that will be reasonable. If we, let's say we picked a fee and there was another, let's say we're selling a $700,000 home, $21,000 might be the listing commission. We might get, say, a 35-40% referral. So that would, in that referral, let's say it was $8,000. Well, there'd be, we could split that 50-50. That would cover my fee, and you make $4,000, and we go to just about any local realtor, any realtor you wanted to work with. I'm gonna offer that. This is now the beginning of February 2019. So let's say that this will be good until February and March, and after that, we'll have to talk. John McConnin, winnerscheck.net is where you can go to set up a free consultation with me, and we'll see how we can help you. Thanks.